Welcome back, everyone. Today, we're doing a deep dive into the world of Jezebel and her unique take on the seven deadly sins.
Oh, yeah, those sins, always a fascinating topic, right?
Absolutely. We've got two series to explore today.
Okay.
Seven of Sins, which is like a collection of interconnected short stories, kind of mystical, romantic, fairy tale vibes.
Oh, I.
And then Seven of Sins, Vengeance in Red.
Okay.
Totally different.
Right.
This one's a crime thriller.
Oh, wow. Okay, so two totally different genres.
Exactly.
Both dealing with the same, themes.
Yeah, and it's going to be really interesting to see how she kind of translates these sins across these different, worlds and genres.
Yeah, finally.
Now, before we jump into the specific stories,
Yeah.
I think it's worth asking, how's she actually defining these sins? Is she sticking to, like, the traditional interpretations of, sloth, pride, greed, all that, or is she putting her own spin on them?
Well, it seems like she's doing a bit of both, blending the traditional with some more modern, maybe unexpected interpretations.
Interesting.
So, for example, with sloth, we usually think of laziness, right?
Yeah, like inactivity, just kind of, yeah.
Exactly. But in Seven of Sins, it takes on like a more spiritual dimension.
Okay.
It's less about physical laziness and more about, I don't know, like a spiritual stagnation, not really reaching your full potential.
Interesting.
And then with pride, which we usually associate with, arrogance, it becomes this source of both strength and vulnerability in one of the characters, Jason.
Oh, okay. I'm curious to hear more about him.
Yeah, he's a fascinating character.
All right, so let's start with Seven of Sins, since it's the more fantastical of the two.
Yeah.
And like I said, it's a collection of interconnected short stories, each one focusing on a different sin.
Sounds good. Let's take that journey.
Yeah, let's see how Jezebel kind of weaves these sins into these mystical tales.
Okay.
So first up, we've got Sloth, and we're introduced to Aurora.
Okay.
She's a struggling psychic.
A struggling psychic with sloth. Okay.
Yeah, and it's not, like we're saying, it's not just about laziness. There's something deeper going on.
Right.
She's blocked somehow. Like, she can't fully connect with her powers.
That's interesting.
And then there's this mysterious Brian who shows up.
Oh, a mysterious guy.
Yeah, and get this, he claims her god, Satan, can't help her with him.
That's a pretty big statement.
Right, it's like, who is this guy?
Yeah, what's his deal?
It's a very intriguing start, that's for sure.
Definitely sets the stage for some mystery and intrigue.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then we move on to Pride with Jason.
Huh?
He's an infiltrator, really smooth talker.
Got it.
And he's like working his way into this grand mansion, but he's playing a dangerous game.
Oh.
He claims to be serving a group called the Dawnies.
The Dawnies, okay.
And you can see how his pride, it's fueling his ambition, this belief that he can pull this off.
So he thinks he's got it all under control.
Cool.
But is he underestimating what he's getting into?
That's the question, right?
Yeah, the stakes seem pretty high.
And then we have Greed and Princess Almeria.
Okay, a princess.
Yeah, she's spoiled, entitled.
Oh, those are never good quality.
Right. And of course, her actions end up igniting a civil war.
A civil war, wow.
Yeah, but here's the thing. Her punishment,
Yeah.
it's not like, imprisonment or something.
What is it then?
She's transformed into a sword.
Into a sword. That's quite a unique punishment.
Right. It's a pretty drastic consequence for her greed.
Yeah, I mean, it makes you think about greed in a different way.
For sure.
Like she had all this power, all this wealth, and now she's just an object.
Yeah, a tool for someone else to use.
It's like a physical manifestation of how greed can strip you of your humanity.
Powerful imagery for sure.
It is, isn't it?
Now with lust, things get a little more, complicated.
Okay.
We meet Desire, and her story is more than just, the typical kind of lustful encounter.
Right.
It's a love triangle.
Oh.
She's torn between Malik, who's this mysterious kind of dangerous figure, and there's Steve, who represents more stability and security.
So two very different options.
Exactly. And it's interesting how Deep is kind of expanding this idea of lust.
Yeah, it's not just physical attraction.
It's about longing, different kinds of desires, and trying to figure out what truly fulfills her,
Right, like what does she really want deep down?
Yeah, and those choices, those desires, they can have some pretty serious consequences.
Oh, definitely.
Now, envy, oh boy, this one gets intense.
Intense how?
Deep actually explores it through multiple characters.
Oh, interesting.
We have one character who's just like completely consumed by jealousy. Can't handle any man even looking at this one woman.
Oh, that's pretty extreme.
It's scary almost.
Yeah.
Then you have Callie,
Okay.
furious at this guy, Ace, for choosing his wife over her.
It's like the classic kind of scorned lover situation.
Exactly. And it's interesting how, Deep shows us how envy can just distort your perception.
Yeah, it's like you're not seeing things clearly anymore.
Yeah. And it leads to, well, bad choices.
It usually does.
Let's talk gluttony.
Okay.
This one features Arturo, a demon.
A demon.
Yeah, and his hunger, it's not just about food.
Right.
He craves power, destruction, like he wants to consume everything.
It's gluttony on a whole other level?
Yeah, and he interacts with these two other characters, Klaus and Ariel.
Oh.
Those interactions are pretty fascinating.
I
It's like with Arturo, Deep is exploring this dark side of gluttony.
Yeah.
This insatiable desire to just take.
And never be satisfied.
Exactly.
That's a scary thought.
It is, and it makes you think about our own appetites.
Oh, yeah.
Are we ever truly satisfied?
It's a good question.
And finally, we have Wrath.
Okay.
Deep takes us on a bit of a roller coaster with this one.
Oh.
It's a love triangle again.
Another one.
Yeah, but with a twist.
Ooh, I like twist.
This one involves time travel.
Whoa, time travel. That's a new element.
Yeah, and our main character, Torrance, she's driven by rage and jealousy, and her actions lead to her downfall.
It's like that saying, revenge is a dish best served cold. But maybe it shouldn't be served at all.
Yeah, it's a haunting story about how, love can twist into something destructive.
Right, how those strong emotions can really cloud your judgment.
But before we jump to Vengeance in Red,
okay,
there's one more piece to consider.
What's that?
Deep actually revisits Desire's story.
Desire, the one with the love triangle.
Yeah.
Okay.
But in a bonus novella.
A novella, so we get even more of her story.
Yeah, and it focuses specifically on her relationship with Malik.
Oh, with the mysterious, dangerous guy.
Exactly. And I'm wondering, what do you think she's trying to achieve by focusing on lust again?
Well, I think it shows how complex lust can be.
Okay.
It's not just about, fleeting pleasure.
Yeah.
It can really shape your choices in relationships.
Right. Those deep desires can have long-lasting effects.
Exactly. And by revisiting Desire's story, we get to see those complexities play out even further.
Makes sense. All right. Now let's shift gears and enter the world of Seven of Sins, Vengeance in Red.
Okay, I'm ready for a dose of crime thriller now.
This is where things get a little bit darker, a little bit grittier.
I'm intrigued to see how Deep brings those same sins into a modern-day setting.
It's going to be a fascinating contrast, that's for sure.
Definitely.
And I think it'll really give us a new perspective on those age-old themes.
I'm looking forward to it. So we're diving into Vengeance in Red, which, as you know, revolves around these 7 women.
Okay.
All brought together by, well, betrayal.
Right, each of them wronged by a man in some way.
Exactly. And they form this pact to get revenge.
A pact? Wow, that's intense.
It is. And what's really interesting is how each woman's sin, the one that's kind of driving her, becomes like the fuel for her revenge.
Oh, I see. So it's not just about getting even, it's deeper than that.
Yeah, it's like those deep-seated emotions, those sins, they kind of twist and turn.
Oh, wow.
And they become this driving force behind their actions.
That's a really cool way to think about it.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like their sins are almost weapons,
I like that. Yeah, weapons sharpened by their pain and betrayal.
Exactly.
So let's start with Sophia.
Okay.
She's the mastermind, the one who brings all these women together.
Okay.
And her sin, it's pride.
Pride. Okay. And how does that tie into her story?
Well, Jonathan, the guy who wronged her, he basically stole her dreams, her ideas, and passed them off as his own.
Oh, that's brutal.
It is. And you can really feel that injustice in her,
Yeah, like a violation of her creativity, her spirit.
Exactly. And that's where her pride comes in.
Okay.
It fuels her, this desire to expose him, to get back what she believes is hers.
It's almost like righteous anger, right?
Right. But there's also this danger.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With pride, sometimes it can make you blind.
To what?
To the consequences,
Okay.
She's so focused on her own agenda, her own rightness, that she might be missing some important things.
Like what?
The risks involved.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, for her and for the other women.
Right.
Because pride can be a powerful motivator, but it can also be pretty reckless.
And then there's Chloe.
Chloe. Yeah, her sin is envy.
Envy. Okay, what happened with her?
So Gregory, the guy who betrayed her,
yeah,
he cheated on her which is bad enough.
Of course.
But he also constantly put her down, chipped away at her confidence.
Oh, wow, that's awful.
It is, and all that simmering resentment,
Yeah.
that feeling of inadequacy, it fuels her.
Her need for revenge.
Yes, exactly.
Interesting, because with envy, it's often not just about the thing itself.
No, it's about the emotion behind it.
Yeah, like in Chloe's case, it's not just about the infidelity, it's about the emotional abuse.
Exactly. It's the way he made her doubt herself.
Right.
And that's what makes her dangerous. Because her envy, it's festered for so long that it's turned into something really powerful and really cruel.
Now, Olivia's story, that's gluttony, right?
Yes, but it's gluttony in a maybe unexpected way.
How so?
It's not about food or possessions.
Okay.
It's about power and control.
Oh, interesting.
Theo, her former employer, he took advantage of her.
Exploited her.
Yeah, and she's determined to make him pay.
Makes sense.
And her gluttony, it manifests as this hunger for justice.
Okay.
Like this need to devour everything he holds dear.
It's like she wants to take everything from him.
Exactly. Strip him of his power and status, just like he did to her.
Wow. It's a really powerful way to show how gluttony can go beyond just physical things.
It definitely is. It's about that desire for dominance.
Yeah, for revenge.
Right.
Now, with Mia, her sin is greed.
Greed, yes.
But what's interesting is it's not about her wanting more money or anything like that.
No, it's about what Darren, the guy who wronged her,
Okay.
what he took from her.
What was that?
Her chance at a better life, her opportunities.
He held her back somehow.
Yeah, he exploited her talent, her work, and left her with nothing.
Oh, wow. So her greed.
It's about getting back what she lost.
Reclaiming her future, in a way.
Exactly. It's not just about material things. It's about restoring a sense of fairness.
Okay, I see that.
Yeah, it's a different angle on greed, isn't it?
Definitely.
Then we have Ava.
Okay.
And her story revolves around lust.
Lust, okay.
But again, it's not as straightforward as you might think.
Okay.
It's not about sexual desire.
Then what is it about?
Control.
Control, okay.
Caleb, the guy she's targeting, he tried to possess her, to own her.
So her lust is about taking back her power.
Exactly. She wants to prove that she's not someone to be controlled.
It's like she's turning the tables on him.
Yeah, she's going to dictate the terms now, even if it means going to extremes.
It's interesting how Deep shows us that lust can be about so much more than just physical desire.
It really can. It's a powerful force.
And Lily, her sin is sloth.
Sloth, yes. But her story, it's kind of a mystery.
Yeah, you mentioned it before.
We don't know the details of what happened to her, why she's joined this pact.
So it's kind of left to our imagination.
Yeah, and it makes you wonder, is her sloth like a mask?
A mask hiding something else.
Maybe. Maybe it's covering up some deeper emotions.
Like what?
Maybe a simmering rage that's been building for years,
Oh, that's a chilling thought.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's like maybe her revenge is less about aggression
Okay.
and more about a slow, deliberate dismantling of her betrayer's life.
Oh, wow. That's even scarier in a way.
It definitely adds a whole other layer to sloth, doesn't it?
It does. And finally, we have Isabella.
Isabella, yes. Her sin is wrath.
Wrath. That's pretty straightforward.
It is. Her story is the most direct.
Okay.
Eric betrayed her deeply, and her anger is just raw.
She's not holding back.
No, she's not interested in elaborate plans or anything.
She just wants him to feel the pain.
Exactly, to suffer like she has.
It's almost like a primal instinct.
It is. She's not thinking about consequences, just pure rage.
It's a powerful reminder of how destructive wrath can be.
Yeah, when it consumes you like that, it can lead to things you might regret.
Definitely.
And as these women are putting their plans into action, we have our detectives, Caleb Novak and Elena Ruiz.
Right. They're trying to solve these murders.
Exactly. And they're piecing things together, trying to make sense of it all.
But it seems like they're always a step behind.
They are. These women are driven by such powerful emotions.
Yeah. And it's like, as the story goes on, the pact starts to unravel.
Oh, how so?
The women, they start turning on each other.
Really?
Yeah, the trust breaks down.
Wow.
The paranoia sets in, and they're fighting amongst themselves.
It's like the revenge is poisoning them from the inside.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
It shows that vengeance, it can be really self-destructive.
Totally. And in the end,
yeah.
Sophia, the mastermind,
what happens to her?
She gets caught.
Oh, wow.
But we don't know what happens to the other women.
So it's left open-ended.
Yeah, it's a cliffhanger.
It makes you wonder, did they escape? Did they get consumed by their own sins?
Right, we're left with that uncertainty.
And it really makes you think about the cost of revenge,
Yeah, is it ever really worth it?
That's the question Deep leaves us with.
It's a powerful ending, for sure.
It is, and so we have these two series, both exploring the seven deadly sins.
Yeah, but in such different ways.
Seven of Sins. It takes us to this mystical world.
Right, with demons and magic.
Yeah, and the sins, they feel almost like external forces.
Like something the characters are battling against.
Exactly.
And then in Vengeance in Red, it's all about the real world.
How those sins manifest in everyday life.
Yeah, and it makes you wonder, are these sins something we're born with? Or are they, something we learn?
That's a great question.
Right, like are we responsible for them, or are we just kind of, I don't know, pawns in this game?
It's the classic debate, isn't it?
Yeah, free will versus destiny.
And I think what's so cool about Jezza Deep's work,
Yeah, is that she doesn't give us a simple answer.
right?
She lets us explore those questions, those complexities.
It's like she's saying that human nature, it's not black and white.
Exactly. There's so much gray area, so much nuance.
And we're all capable of good and bad.
Right. It's about the choices we make.
It really makes you think about the choices we make. And you know what I find fascinating?
What's that?
It's how Deep uses these two different series, these different worlds, to explore those same themes.
Yeah, I see what you mean in Seven of Sins. It's like the sins are almost these external forces, these like mystical entities that the characters are fighting against.
Yeah, like they have a life of their own, shaping destinies.
Exactly. But then in Vengeance, in Red, it's totally different.
Oh, yeah.
Internal.
It's personal.
Yeah.
Those sins are driving the characters from within.
Right. It's like they're wrestling with these very human impulses.
And it makes you wonder, are we really in control
of our sins? Yeah. Or are we just kind of, I don't know, playing out some predetermined script?
That's the age-old question, isn't it? Free will versus destiny.
Right.
And I think Deep's work,
yeah,
it doesn't give us an easy answer.
No, it doesn't.
Instead, she gives us these two contrasting perspectives, and it lets us wrestle with that question ourselves.
It's like she's saying that there's no simple explanation.
Exactly. It's not black and white. There's so much nuance to it.
We're all capable of both good and bad.
Absolutely. And the choices we make, they're shaped by so many things.
Yeah, internal struggles, external pressures.
It's a complex mix.
Thinking about those choices,
yeah.
Do you think Deep is suggesting that there's redemption possible for these characters?
Even the ones who've done terrible things?
Yeah.
I think she leaves that open to interpretation.
Okay.
Like some characters, you see them growing, learning, but others, they seem so consumed by their desires that it's hard to see a way back for them.
But even in those darker stories, there are those moments where you see their humanity.
You see their vulnerability.
Exactly. And it makes you question, are they really beyond saving?
That's what I love about Deep's writing. She doesn't shy away from the darkness.
No, she doesn't.
But she also reminds us that there's always hope, always the possibility for change.
It's a powerful message. So as we wrap up this deep dive into Jezza Deep's work, what are some key takeaways you'd like to leave our listeners with?
Well, I think the biggest one is that these sins, despite how we usually think of them, they're really reflections of our shared humanity.
Okay.
They represent our desires, our fears, our weaknesses,
They're part of the human experience.
Exactly. We all struggle with them in some way.
And it's how we choose to deal with those struggles that defines us.
Right. Deep's work encourages us to examine those choices.
To be more self-aware.
Yeah, to understand the consequences of our actions.
It's a call to really look inward, to confront those darker parts of ourselves.
And maybe by understanding them, we can learn to transcend them.
Wow, that's a really profound thought.
It is, isn't it? It's about recognizing the power of these sins, but not letting them control us.
This has been such a fascinating journey, from those mystical tales in Seven of Sins to the gritty realism of Vengeance in Red.
Jezza Deep really takes us on a ride.
She does, and she makes us think, which is what a good writer should do.
Absolutely, and who knows, maybe we'll revisit her work in the future.
Oh, there are definitely more depths to explore there.
For sure. But for now, we encourage you to keep exploring those depths within yourselves.
Keep asking those tough questions. Keep seeking understanding.
And keep diving deep into the mysteries of the human heart.
Well said. And on that note, we'll wrap things up here. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. And until next time, happy reading, everyone.